Influencer. Short story by Michael Botur, read by the author. 13-year-old Christchurch vandals Richie and Sammy learned the limits of their friendship after they are influenced on weekend missions by the mysterious Jacob, who seems to never leave school. After Jacob takes a prank way too far, the boys part ways and Richard denies what he did, until years later Jacob reappears, reminding Richie if he doesn't play, he's going to pay. Influencer. 1. Now. Bump, bump, bump. Thumping on the door. Bump, 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 bump. Bump, 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 bump. Harder now. Frantic knocks. The door handle jerking. Richard Chan has been readying to drop his daughter at dance before he has to meet the procurement lads from Christchurch Boys High School for a quick beer over at the Yaldi and a Friday evening powwow about business. They'll want to yarn about next week's match, so he's been checking the rugby results while he walks up and down the glass stairs of his Fendalton home, texting and calling his suppliers, trying to source 1800 quad-core 128-bit processors at a competitive price. Richard will be invited to put in a $1.8 million tender to supply the CBHS Computing Academy, and the old boys will talk him through the best tactics to win the contract. Then they'll move from beers to bourbons. Canterbury Computers has become one of the South Island's most successful IT suppliers. Richard has a thick neck and a decent gut and has skin so bleached by 38 years of Canterbury whiteness, people forget that he's Han Chinese. He's a busy man, and he doesn't have time for unexpected knocks on the door at 4 p.m. on a Friday. "Who's that, Dad?" Lily calls from her bedroom, rolling out of the pile of pillows on her bed from where she's been recording for Lily Chanel, her vlog, reviewing her lunch, rating her teachers, talking in emojis, living off reactions. "I haven't the foggiest," Richard tells her, turning his wireless headset off with a tap. "Put your dance shoes in your bag. Quit filming, Lil. Got to shoot in 2 minutes. I don't want you to be late." Whoever the knocker is should have been stopped at the gate checkpoint. It says clearly on the sign, Coalfire Grove is a private lane. Richard pulls the door open, and there's an empty black eye and the length of pipe with a man behind it, the barrel of a shotgun, and it's aimed at his face. Richard's stomach falls off a building. He's afraid to close the door. The gun looks like it could blow the whole house away. "The hell? Don't you close that fucking door," the man says, tired, old and pale pink with a salty, droopy, nicotine-yellowed mustache like... God, he hasn't thought about the 90s in ages. Like Yosemite Sam, that old redneck cartoon guy. Mustache man is holding the weapon, wearing a dressing gown with what looks like... Nah, can't be. Wearing some sort of biker vest over the gown, leather, like a bikie gang patch. "Keep cool, man. You've swallowed your fear for 25 years. Maintain, Richie." It looks like the biker lifestyle has stressed this guy's head bald on top. The last few thousand silver hair strands are bunched in a ponytail down the back of his green-inked neck. The man is aged 65-ish, hitting the end of his life. His road nights patch appears tired and historic, and combined with the gown and slippers, it looks as if he's just come up from some hospital room and decided to dress up and reminisce about his glory days. The old man peers inside the house, sniffing Richard's wall of portraits and photos and the trophy cabinet, putting an unwelcome foot inside Richie's hallway. He's dragging a little trolley with an oxygen bottle on it, 2 tubes crawling up his nose. As he chews, his droopy mustache wriggles. "I've been waiting a long time for this." The gunman taps the steel snout against Richard's head as he advances. Richard, shivering too much to close the door, kneels. "Dad?" Lily is in the hallway with the back of her long black swishing hair to the men. She's taking a selfie video with her phone up near her face so the colour comes alive in her eyes as she films her own reaction. "Look at me, honey. Call the cops. Press the panic button. Press." Like a wave crashing on rocks, the hallway's framed portraits and photos dissolve into splashed glass. The old man braces himself against the door, staggering against the blowback from the shotgun. Speckled with glass and pulverized picture frame, Richard is fantasizing about getting up and grabbing the weapon before it's reloaded, but he's not sure he knows how to battle anymore. Success has made him sluggish and soft. Richard's family shoved him to the front of the privilege queue when he was a boy. Told not to waste time on hiking or mountain biking or play dates, he surged ahead of all the white kids at school, started importing and selling laptop computers when he was a freshman at university. He had 12 staff by the age of 24. It's been a clean life of positive outcomes and successful deals. Richard hasn't had to fight in a long time. Struggling on his ass, Richard kicks back along the polished wood floor till his spine collides with a box of CPUs. Lily rushes up and wraps her face and arms and knees around him, crying and rocking, squeezing her phone in her right hand. While the old man reloads his shotgun and pumps it, Richard sputters some words to interrupt his thoughts. You're Murray, right? My family got a restraining order against you. Ah, so you do know who I am. The old man chews, deciding what to do with Richard, and then picks up a brochure for Canterbury computers off the trophy cabinet. He spits yellow cigarette-y gunk into it, and then refolds the brochure and places it back neatly. So where's your missus, family man? You lost her, I take it. She divorced your ass, didn't she, when she found out what you are? But you're not even supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. You people aren't supposed to be here. Murray, sir, mate, I'm not what? Not a Chinaman? Just because you got a Crusaders tat on your arm? Chinaman? Seriously? Old man Murray steps forward a metre, guiding his oxygen trolley across the doormat. He puts the barrel of the shotgun against Richard's crotch, which turns black and hot as he wets his pants. We're going to go for a little ride in a minute, we are. He studies Lily, then, squinting, sniffing her, curious, studies Lily's perfectly flattened hair hanging to her budding chest, inch-long amethyst-coloured nails, her cell phone case covered in rhinestones. You can join us, princess. The old man kicks Richard with his slipper. Richard sits up against the wall, shields himself with the Canterbury Crusaders tat on his forearm. She's the same age as my Samuel, your kid, give or take. 13, 14, that right? 13 is when you fucked my Samuel over, correct? Samuel? Oh, yeah. Sammy Harris, the man is talking about. No doubt about it. Bloody hell. So this home-invading arsehole is definitely Sammy Harris's dad. Apart from the occasional nightmare, Richard was sure he'd buried and paved over the whole Sammy thing. Pieces of broken memory start gluing themselves together inside his head as the old man sticks the shotgun under his chin like a fishhook, lifts Richard up the wall, draws him down the front steps towards an old, smoggy Holden that he's left running, stinking out the whole of Ko-Fi Grove. 8 cylinders humming, ugly old thing should be history. Well, tonight's a night for history for history not to go away. Lily squeezing the door frame, her face melting with worried tears. But her body is half out the door. She is descending into this too. You've got balls, Richie, so fucking find them, man. Remember you stood up straight when Christchurch wanted to crush you? Carry on being hard. Richard tries to ready her for whatever this is, a summary execution. It won't be that bad, Lel. We'll just do what he says till he chills out. Safe with me, Angel. He nods at her clutched phone. We don't need to get the law involved. The old man makes Richard drive. The windscreen is misty with tears. This is so much to ask for one of our snobby Guelo neighbours to just look out the window right now and see that we're being kidnapped. Do we have to be alone in this hell? Will nobody stop this embarrassment? He checks on his daughter every few seconds, reaches back to squeeze her leg. She's got 1,000 things to live for. She wants her own energy drink, wants to live in Korea, wants to be on X Factor, wants to drop out of school so that she can record Lily Chanel full time, wants to launch her own brand, whatever that means. Tonight, God. He tries to think of Lily, only instead of thinking about getting his head blown off, Yosemite Sam will get uncomfortable and will send Lily back home, surely, and then she will call Mum. Well, she will do her makeup first, then she'll upload a video of herself gushing about what's happened, Eva the influencer, gushing into the camera about her dirty, ugly brush with a psycho killer, and then Mum will call the police, and the police will arrive at some point to disarm the madman, or clean up Richard's body. They have to do something before or after old Murray has spackled the car with his skull. He's not sure. Murray keeps the warm gun barrel in Richard's ear as he makes Richard leave the safe gated Fendalton community and take a right at the roundabout. So is she really yours then, the girl? What do you mean, is she really mine? It's the eyes. He's referring to Lily's blue contact lenses. They are cyan, piercing colour, unmistakable. A good investment, maybe, possibly. The pretend white thing makes her more likeable in Korea and Japan, where apparently Richard's little Asian daughter has got tens of thousands of followers, although he wishes she would simply be happy with her natural caramel irises. I know we act white every day, honey, he wishes he could tell her, but at least hold on to the eyes that me and Mummy gave you. He checks over the rearview mirror as they head south through Riccarton, over the rail bridge, under the motorway overpass. Lily hugs the seatbelt, phone pressed tightly to her tummy like a baby kangaroo. Heading into the southwest corner of Christchurch, heading into Sunnyside, the hood where Richard started off at school, back when he used to be a fat little Chinese dork with no friends. Well, one friend. So you're Sammy's father, Richard says to his abductor, prodding the door lock with a finger, trying to watch the road and control the desire to cry. How's he doing? No, Richard doesn't say it like that. He couldn't possibly mock him. How is he doing? Richard asks Murray. My Sammy's dead. Didn't make the 6 o'clock fucking news. Outside don't care about prisoners, do you? The motorway is cooling off, easing down into a 50k zone, slowing for the Sunnyside shops where his parents used to run the Chinese takeaway place before they retired. Richard turns left, settles in a bus stop outside Sunnyside School. It's nearly dark, but he can see that the place has got additional buildings now, though some things are the same. It still begins with intermediate students and covers right up to the final year of high school, and a few old buildings remain. The library's obviously gone. He hasn't been here in, 25 years? Because Richie had to move schools by 14, had to move to the other side of Christchurch after what happened. The thing. While the old man takes a suck of oxygen and rolls a smoke, Richard, imprisoned behind the steering wheel, pats the left pocket of his vest, finds his wallet, pulls it open. Lots of 50s and 100s. I'm seriously sorry about Sammy passing away. Look, I heard he went to jail and whatnot. Listen, can I just buy you guys some flowers? Can I make a donation to your family? And that here, there's got to be 300. There's got to be $400 in here. Take it, honest. Get out of the fucking car. And your spoiled brat too. Because it's a Friday evening in autumn, 3k's away, the rugby stadium is pumping roars and lights from the 5 p.m. pre-game into the glowing clouds. 3 cranes and hundreds of floodlights, and Christchurch's superheroes are just blocks away. The fucking Canterbury Crusaders could stop this injustice that Richard is being dragged through. While Murray is wrestling his oxygen trolley out of the vehicle and getting something from the trunk, Richard realises that he could run. By the time he's resolved to escape, though, he is deep inside Sunnyside School, goaded by the gun barrel. What happened to your guts, Richie? You used to be daring. Scares used to give you a stiffy, man. You carry this. Murray pushes a red plastic petrol container into Richard's big chest. It sloshes and stinks sweetly, and the smell pricks Richard's mind with memories. Difficulties with Sammy back in school days, something like that, at this very school. Years of, years of exhilaration, terror, grinning wet-eyed joy mixed with bashings and threats and guns, teeth in the air, creaking boys with claws. And Sammy. And the friend he had to stop playing with, the bad influence. You might not have heard about your old pal, considering you didn't give a rat's ass about him. Lily scampers after Murray and Richie, barefoot and shivering in her Gucci singlet and tights as they move through school blocks, murals, drinking fountains, hopscotch grids, and they halt when the old man begins stroking his gun barrel. My Sammy bit his own wrists open about 5 days ago. He squirted all over his cell. Wasn't hardly any blood in the poor little tyke when the screws found him. He wasn't more than 5'5", he was. You stunted his growth. Stunted all his fucking opportunities. Look, sir, it's not my fault he went to jail, okay? If he'd have just behaved himself in young offenders, he wouldn't have gotten in further trouble, and... Murray is looking ready to kill. So Richard shuts up. Sunnyside School used to be tall, cream, weatherboard buildings built in the 30s. A traditional Canterbury settler middle high school for kids 11 to 18, bordered by European trees and the Heathcote River. Across the water, Sunnyside Hospital, the loony bin with the memorial garden built in honour of, dead polio patients, yeah. Dozens of plaques and marble tombs. Christ, he remembers an old educational film reel showing the virus bending kids' feet into hooves. The Aquinas position, it was called, yeah. Mutilated children, desperate to keep up and play, shamed by their squeaky aluminium braces, painful on the ears. No wonder they called it the Garden of Remembrance. It's got all those glass vases where Richard and Sammy used to throw stones at. No. Oh, hell no. These memories need to stop. Memories are piling up behind the door of his brain as they get near the new library where the old man positions the red jerry can of petrol on the veranda. Oh, God. Oh, thank you, God. He's not going to pour petrol on me. At least I think he won't. Praise the Lord. They arrive at the towering timber play fort in its lake of bark chips. Richard can't believe that the structure is still standing. Used to be the school library pressed up against it, until what happened to the library. It's interesting to see that the library's been rebuilt, though. Expansive deck, wheelchair ramp, so that people with disabilities aren't left behind. Lily toes the muddy bark chips. Richard takes one last look at her. In the dirty dishwater light, he can see that she's clutching the hard rectangle of her phone under her singlet. Designer singlet, expensive eyelashes, diamond nose stud. God, Richie's success paid for all of it. Old Murray twitches his weapon. Dig. But I don't have a spade. I'm late for a meeting. Honestly, I just got to take the 400. Please, you know, take the $400. I can find you 5. I need to get Lily to dance classes. You've got to put the gun down. You just got to dig before I paint the playground with your fucking brains, gook. Richard digs like a cat till splinters make his fingers bleed and throb. Finally, Richard realizes what he has scraped out is a shallow grave. Interesting fact, polio arrived in this country on a Chinese ship. You would know that, wouldn't you? What? I don't know how come you're talking about. Lie your ass down. Both of yous. No, mate, I'm serious. Don't. The old man primes his shotgun as Big Richard curls up like a bean, hugging his knees, arm around his daughter. She's still squeezing her damn phone. She's not crying, though. She's totally occupied, looking deep into her phone glass. Before you go, cunt, tell me where I can find him. Tell me where I can find the prick whose name my son wrote on the wall with his blimmin' wrists. Richard sniffs and blinks and looks up from his grave. Name? What name? Boom! Murray turns and shoots at the red can on the library veranda. Peppery flames rise blue, eating the petrol. The flames sense the wood of the veranda and weatherboards, and they begin to crackle as they slither over the library. I can't go out like this. You said you wanted to meet him? Get him here. I will get him here. I'll just have to take it back. Like, I'll just have to explain, you know, take it back to the beginning, tell you the story before I call him. Old man Murray plants the shotgun barrel between Richard's soggy eyes. All right then, begin. 2. Back then. The first time he vandalizes Sunnyside School, he almost gets caught. Richie Chan is a junior, 13, unimportant to anyone, and bored shitless. It's a late autumn Sunday, the quiet, dead tail end of the week, forgotten day. The Port Hills, looking down on Christchurch, miserable with rain. His parents are at Chinese church, and his brothers are re-watching the King of the Ring WWF special they videotaped last night, practicing clotheslines and choke slams on anyone who comes near, dreaming of becoming the first Asian wrestling duo on Kiwi TV. Richie pedals into the school, makes his way through the warren of buildings to Rimu Block, resting his bike against a rail while he sets up the trap. Often he gets puffed out at school sports from being chubby, but Richie doesn't get puffed when he's on weekend vandal missions like this. Missions make Richie's heart beat strong and steady. He barely even feels the cold weather. He hates sport, hates playing badminton with his family, but God gave Richie a gift, because when it comes to sabotaging the school, he's the man. While he is tying dental floss between two posts, hoping it'll snag some kid tomorrow morning, Richie senses giggling. He pulls the earphones off and stops the tape in his Walkman. His ears locate the gigglers halfway across the school, atop the play fort just past the library. Exactly 48 metres away they are. It's a boy in a button-up white shirt, a girl in a dress with flowers. Big kids, white guelos, cardboard-coloured people. They are older. They are year 11s, year 12. And they have just finished school, judging by the time. 11:39 on his Casio. They are pashing and gripping each other's hair, legs intertwined like spaghetti. They stop when they spy Richie building his dental floss web. The plan is supposed to be that the dental floss will wrap around a junior, and hopefully the whole school will gossip about who is the evil genius that built the trap. They will never suspect the quiet dork from the Chinese family, Richard Chan, youngest of 4 brothers. Richie has to abandon Operation Spiderweb now that he's been spotted, though. There are no security cameras, but those kids look like telltales. And there's a squeak nearby, the kind of squeak you would get if someone was carrying metal chains to lock Richie up. Real close now, right behind him. He hauls the bike between his fat thighs, and he drops Mumma's dental floss, and he disappears. After a week of ducking bullies and brothers and big kids, serving customers in the shop with his homework behind the counter, Sunday arrives again. Richie returns to the empty school ground, wearing those dumb black shoes his brothers handed down to him, with grey track pants and a plain blue hooded sweatshirt peaked above his head. He has peeled the stickers off his BMX so that no one can tell which brand it is, so long as they don't identify him by his chubbiness. The evil genius ninja in disguise sabotaging the school will not be recognised by witnesses or the security camera over the road at his parents' shop. His colours are too undistinguishable, is that the word? He's not sure how you spell it. He knows he's just some child wearing clothes that could belong to anyone. They can't tell that he's one of the school's only Asians. He comes prepared to deal with any interruptions this time. In his backpack, there's a medical kit, a push pop, a bag of M&Ms for lunch, prawn crackers from his parents' takeaway shop, a Nerf gun, just in case he has to shoot his way out, a bottle of Coke, because he can't use the drinking fountains because he's pushed boogers into them. The library is an awesome target for today's mission. Horny with excitement, he opens the book returns flap, pulls a 10-inch barbecue lighter from between his waistband and belly, the lighter that he borrowed from Baba. Must put it back by 4 p.m. Richie peers through the glass to see if the librarian man is in there, the stomach-stroking moustachy Napoleon guy, Mr. Pushpa, who naps sometimes at his library desk with a cup of steaming tea and a thermos in front of him. Even on Sundays, Mr. Pushpop, as the kids call him, is known to come into school. School, he sticks his arm in the return slot. He flares the barbecue lighter. There is a Guinness World Records 1995 from last year in the returns tray, a Microsoft Office for Dummies, which he won't hurt because he respects computers. And under it, there's one of those Far Side cartoon collections. He ought to burn that because his brothers said he looks like the Pang Tubby Boys Gary Larson always draws, and they call him Far Side, and they never get in trouble with Mama because they are the favourites. And, whoa, Count of Monte Cristo is also in the returns tray. No way he's burning the Count of Monte Cristo. It's one of the few books he respects. Richie wishes he had his own Three Musketeers, a bunch of smart, witty, swashbuckling tough guys to watch his back while he stands up for the little guy fighting the school authorities. Burn the school, burn it. Huh? Weird. Voices carrying from the nearest houses. Must be kids playing. Must be acoustics. Richie blinks and continues. The Cat in the Hat is in the returns tray too. It's a pretty wacky Goyle book. The message never made sense to Richie, like how a friend with powers appears on a cold day and turns the kids' lives upside down. He's still got a crumbly copy that Mama used to read him while she rubbed his back. The pages stained with tears because his brothers had been doing Bruce Lee hits on him. The Cat in the Hat could be this city, actually. Cold Caucasian Christchurch. The sky, a heavy beam of grey steel with nothing for kids to do. I double dare you. Burn it down, ching-chong chicken. Squeak. The swings are creaking. Must be the winter wind. Richie glances behind him and checks over both shoulders. Meh. He must have been mishearing things. After a couple of Calvin and Hobbes, that imaginary tiger friend one, the next book in the returns box is a thick, glossy photo collection about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Pumping Iron, it's called. His dumb Wuji caveman brothers love Arnie as they squeeze barbells in their bedrooms. It's the perfect candidate for destruction. Plus, burning stuff is advancing scientific knowledge for all mankind. Why, just last week, Richie discovered that Fanta reduces into orange, bubbly sludge when a plastic bottle is burning at 260 degrees around it. Seriously cool to discover that. Maybe he'll get a patent or, maybe he'll get a Nobel Prize for that discovery. Plus, he found a broken motherboard in the school dumpster too. And he set the plastic on fire and watched the lime-violet flames of cadmium and arsenic reacting to combustion. Apart from lighting paper lanterns every New Year, Richie mostly has to keep his fire passion to himself, and there's no chance he'll ever find a pyro bro. With his arm deep in the return slot, Richie begins crisping inky pages with the barbecue lighter, his diddle thickening, trying to get a sexy green flame when he sees, reflected in the library glass, two sets of eyes. Richie whirls around. On the deck of the library is that kid from Mr. Roundtree's class, the one who stinks, Sammy Harris. A poo tries to escape Richie's bum. He holds his breath. Sup, is all that Richie can gasp, scorching his hip as he stashes the lighter in his waistband. Oh, sup, Sammy responds. Their eyes lock for 1,000 years before they can't bear to look at each other. Richie smells cigarettes and some funky, greasy, sugary, fruity, left on a dashboard tang, probably from his dad spilling beer in the laundry. To relieve their eyes, the boys look at the reading rules posters, the stand up to bullies signs, the planter boxes full of winter blackberries. Sammy Embarrass. Sammy Hammy Harris Embarrass. That's what everybody calls him. The smoke-stinking kid with the patchy moustache who always has nits in his... What's the Yingyu word? Mackerel? Mullet, that's the word. Mullet hair. It doesn't seem right that the smelly mullet kid would be at school on a Sunday afternoon, though, because there's like this rumour that the boy can only tiptoe out to play when his father is comed. Shadowed by the library, Richie finds himself totally busted, unless Sammy is in on the mission. What are you up to? Sammy goes, hands in his jacket pocket, looking away. Oh, nothing, Richie replies immediately, the hot tip of the lighter nipping his thigh. Oh, dope. Me too. I'm up to nothing, Sammy goes. There are 30 blackberries in the planter box, and Sammy begins cradling each little piece of fruit in his left hand. And with his right, he presses something into each blackberry. The crunch of moving gravel in his palm. Sammy appears to be... No way. Sammy Harris is pushing tiny stones inside each piece of fruit. So when kids bite down, 30 synchronized teeth will shatter, and whichever genius ninja did this will become famous. Infamous, actually. Which is better. Richie studies his fellow guerrilla warrior. He admires the bro's Levi's denim jacket, but not the other stuff about him. Sammy's face is puffy, with some greeny-purple Northern Lights sort of colour on one side, for example. Plus there is that alcohol ashtray kind of waft every time that he moves. And he needs new shoes. Kids reckon that Sammy's father used to be an electrician till he fell off a ladder and now he's a sickness beneficiary. And his cousins are in the road nights and all Sammy's dad does is play pool and hunt and fix bikes. When Sammy is finished terrorizing the blackberries, their next mission begins. It doesn't even require discussion. The boys get to work with hard rods of uncooked spaghetti inside their excited diddles. Sammy draws a cock with pubes on the old concrete netball court. Does it with white crayon. Richie pees on the swings. They move through mission after mission, hardly speaking, mostly gasping and giggling. The pair find a Sharpie, use it to draw a bum with a fart-coloured cloud on that memorial plaque to all the old dead polio cripples from the black and white days. They are immersed in their work for hours, focused, hardly talking. Occasionally, Richie steps back to marvel that he's found a fellow saboteur and to worry how long it'll last. Richie wants to ask who hit Sammy's face, wants to ask if he's ever eaten the mouth-gasm-tastic char siu roast pork bulgy buns that his family makes at Sunnyside Takeaways, and he especially double, mega, triple wants to check whether Sammy is going to tell on him at the end of today. It's unlikely, though, because Sammy seems like he gets secrets slapped into him every day, and all it does is make him speak less, practically mute. The sky bruises. It'll be home time soon. Before they go, under the play fort, Sammy uses his musketeer sword, his barbecue lighter, to slowly burn letters into the wood. There's no chance of fire. The wet winter air will put out any flame. They spend the final hour of the perfect Sunday under the play fort, half buried in a nest of bark, taking turns licking a push pop until it's gone, sharing a Coke with a single straw. It's nearly 4 o'clock now. Richie tucks the oily prawn cracker bag into a crevice in the wood, sets fire to it, and the boys watch black butterflies of molten plastic lift into the wind. On the way out, the pair are hit with a heart attack, because as they creep around the back of the library, past Remu Block, a boy's shape moves between the buildings 10 metres ahead. He has normal skin, he's blonde, in a tucked winter shirt with a necktie, socks pulled up to his knees, grey shorts, black leather shoes and buckles. He looks about their age. Richie and Sammy give each other a, "Do we know this dude?" look. Has to be from some private school. Must be one of those kids that stays at Boys High all year in the hostels. What do you call them? A boarder? They creep around the corner. They find that the outsider boy has vanished. Exhale, high five, pedal home with secret sunbeam smiles. Dinner is a landscape of dishes on a table crowded with vinegar and soy sauce, Pepsi, green tea, steaming piles of noodles and seaweed, crackly beef fat, rice cooker, plus unclaimed leftovers from the takeaway shop, fried chicken wings, squid, flounder. Portraits of successful Zhonghua relatives watch from the walls. Dad's aunties from Hangzhou, a picture of Mum's chickens back home, a photo of Grandpa Gungung, one of Christchurch's top lawyers. At the ends of the dinner table are Nana Yanyan and Grandad Yaya. In the middle, Richie's brothers squeeze and elbow and brag about kicking Maori kids' asses and playing American gladiators down at Rowley Park. As he brushes his teeth before bed, Richie is attacked in the bathroom, ambushed with a stone-cold stunner by his brothers. He recovers with his head in Mum's boobs while she hums Zhao Tuji Guai Guai, the one about the good little piglet. Ugh. He knows he's getting too old for the soft, sensitive child stuff. He wonders if it's better at Sammy's house, where after school they don't make you do your homework on a Formica bench, damp with oil steam, while you dip fish bites in batter. Maybe at Sammy's house getting smacked and smoked on means being treated like a man. How my baby boy like his bike ride? Mama asks, checking his scalp for lice. I made a new friend, I guess, he tells Mama. And my new friend didn't call me Farside or ask what bra size I wear or say I've got more chins than a Chinese phone book. I think there might be one other friend too, Richie wants to add. And I think this other friend wants me to come back and play. Richie wakes early and stealths out of the house. The Christchurch winter wood smoke in his mouth doesn't matter. The willows, the black rivers, the haunted, netless soccer goals on lake fields, the sky, the colour of his parents' fish and chip paper, none of it is a reason to stay inside. All that matters is that Sunday has arrived again. Sammy Day, more like. It starts to rain as he pumps his bike pedals. Ripples in the gravel, puddles in the car park where Mr. Pushpop's sad, depressed little Honda would usually be. It's hard to tell the rhythm of which Sunday's Pushpop will show up. On the veranda outside the library, Sammy is waiting. The caterpillar on his top lip bends into a smile. There are purple clouds around Sammy's eye, and his ear looks ouchy, like an earring has been ripped out. Pedals spinning where they have thrown their bikes. The boys immediately begin missions. Has anyone ever checked what happens if you saw through half the trunk of a humongous oak and it crashes down on H-block during Canterbury storms? Or we could pour the caretaker's bleach on the school flag and see if the flag pulls the bleach through the capillaries in the fabric so it looks tie-dyed. Or what if we replace the special needs kids' sunflower seeds with Venus flytrap seeds so that the plants grow up and eat the class guinea pig? Sammy says he will try and bring his old man's rifle next weekend. But he has to wait until Dad is combed out to borrow it. They've both got their barbecue lighters, and they could set fire to the plastic downpipe on the side of the library, and it would probably drip real cool napalm plastic lava onto the deck, and they could write dirty words with the white lava. It's scientific. Well, sort of scientific. Richie could almost put the research in his science fair project. He wouldn't want the library to get hurt, though. Sammy's got an idea too. Sammy finds a nice runny dog turd and smears it on a 1B5 exercise book and then paints door handles with doo-doo. And then the boys use a wrench from the caretaker's shed to loosen the nuts and bolts on a rain-soaked swing set. Hopefully a kid will fall off and get crippled or something cool like that. They open a bag of cement and they fill the girls' toilets with wet, sloppy concrete, and they play fire extinguisher wars, and they paint swastikas with tomato sauce, and they talk Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone and Choose Your Own Adventure and Bruce Lee and Evil Dead and The Road Warrior, and then they hear a voice and there he is. The blonde boy in the fusty uniform, cap, blazer, coat, shorts, shoes, white socks pulled up, starched shirt. Standing on top of the fort, looking down through the drizzle like an eagle, his necktie flapping, like he's seen everything that the boys have done and that he might narc on them. Sammy and Richie saunter over and stand under the other boy. The dude's got leverage. They'd better listen to him. The sky grumbles. Windy leaves veer around him. "Howdy, gents," the boy says, swirling down the fireman's pole to land in the bark chips, stumbling a little on one fucked-up leg, blinking the pain off. He's got bright yellow hair, his eyes blue and sharp as icicles. The dude might be wearing a Ponzi uniform, but he looks like he wants to get dirty. As he approaches, shunting forwards awkwardly, his right leg squeals. Screech, screech, whinge, cringe. The leg appears to be wrapped with metal and leather. "I'm Jacob. What's your name?" "I'm Weird Leg," he might as well have said. The two musketeers are speechless for a second. He's Sammy." Yeah, he's Richie. Him." "Please don't call me Farside. I can't take any more meanness. But you got a weirdness to you too." Jacob is bent on his right side, and there are rings of leather and metal running up and down the right leg. Some sort of brace. "I notice what you fellas is up to," Jacob says. His bright eyes crease in a smile and his mouth bends. "I'm itching to play with you boys. Sound dandy?" "Sure, totes my goats, it sounds dandy, but you need to frickin' explain what the hell's on your leg, man," Richie thinks. The kid seems lonely, and considering they've got a white trash and an agent, Richie thinks a cripple is no worse. The cripple could work pretty sweet as their third musketeer. Jacob holds up a fingertip. Richie blinks twice. Holy cow, the frickin' finger's on fire and flaming in the rain too. There must be a barbecue lighter hidden in his palm like a magic trick. Whatever the explanation, Jacob's lighter finger is the third sword that the musketeers have been waiting for. So the boys pick their jaws off the ground and tell him We actually say choice or cool. We don't say dandy, but yeah, you can definitely play with us, okay? They go around the school trying to get flames to catch onto milk cartons and a plastic rubbish bin and a PVC pipe and the Perspex greenhouse that the juniors are growing capsicums in. And finally, Jacob spots a plastic watering can beside the caretaker's shed. Hiya, Richie. That's what you want to burn. Richie gets the spout of the can on fire, and as it fizzles, it dribbles gooey, cummy, snotty napalm, and they paint more Nazi swastikas with molten plastic. They moon the principal's office, and Sammy flicks mud at Richie's bum crack, and they are cackling so loud that Richie thinks he's going to burst with happiness, and even Sammy looks joyful for once. We can do the whole school, gentlemen. We can burn it down. We can do something big, Jacob is urging the boys. And they talk excited plans for an hour, just walking and brainstorming and kicking puddles. Apart from Jacob, who can't really kick. Jacob's a bit bossy and pushy, a bit too excited, a bit too pent up, like he hasn't played with anyone in 100 years, though the only time things aren't perfect is when Sammy is about to melt a rubbish bin and Jacob hauls him back impatiently going, me first, me first. Except Jacob's hands aren't touching Sammy, which is weird. There's just a ball of Sammy's hair scrunched by an invisible fist and Sammy kicking the wind as he dangles inches above the ground before Jacob tosses him away. Sammy lands and rubs his sore butt and says he's ready to go home, and Richie agrees. But Jacob says, in a jiffy, lads, in a jiffy. They're beginning to walk towards their bikes when a seagull swoops. The boys watch as the seagull is snatched out of the sky and slammed into the concrete in a burst of feathers. Jacob picks the bird up and it nips, its eyes frantic. Holding one wing, Jacob forces Richie to take the other wing. I don't want to, man. Richie begins and then feels his hair compress and twist, his scalp screaming as his feet lift off the netball court. Okay. Richie takes the wing of the bird thinking, I'm really incredibly sorry. I'll make it up to you. And he's hoping the bird can read his mind as he extends the wing like one of Mama's paper fans. Jacob does all the pulling. Richie is left holding a wing. Jacob begins nibbling the dark flesh, his gums red, blood running down his chin. Richie bikes hurriedly to catch Sammy and rub Sammy's back. It is dope having a third musketeer, but he's thinking that the baseline of his two-person friendship, well, it's become a triangle, except one end of the triangle is, what do you call it, isosceles? Big, sharp, pointy end that you can jab yourself on. For the whole third term of the year, every wintry Sunday is Sammy Day. Down at school, they have armpit fart competitions and they burp the national anthem and they draw whiteout letters on the no public access sign so it says pubic. Richie feels powerful with infamy like Blofeld or Carlos the Jackal or that Che Guevara guy on the t-shirts at Echo Records on High Street. Feels like one of those guerrilla rebels feeling talked about. He lies across two swings like a hammock, watching clouds drift. Jacob comes out to play every time, of course. The stench of burning magnesium wafts into his nostrils as Jacob guides Sammy's hands to tie 20 sparklers into a white-hot lightsaber and melt 69 into the plastic slide. Fire is Jacob's favourite, which Richie sort of understands because it's bright and warm in the cold Canterbury winter. But Richie's favourite is just his friend, Sammy, the bro with the stench of a warm dog kennel. Not Sammy Embarrass, Sammy Prowess. Because Richie's proud to be friends with Sammy. Daylight savings springs forward, and on a clear October day, Richie and Sammy find themselves biking towards Sammy's house off Barraclough Street in Rowley after the day's mission is over. Wide, flat, dead-end Christchurch streets with stickers of lichen, a busted trampoline, every house with a ragged pit bull or a Rottweiler. He's not normally allowed in Rowley. Too many poor people. It's a rule from his Fumuchin parents. But Richie keeps his bike on the north side of the street, which is technically Sunnyside. Rowley is all cookie-cut-out, identical yellow bungalows with overgrown lawns and dead cars and saggy fences. The boys cycle so slowly that they wobble, chatting non-stop in between scoffing the grapes that hang over the fence in the alleyway. Years worth of Masters of the Universe and Garbage Pail Kids and JCVD and Mortal Kombat to talk about. Finally, Sammy stops at a house with a Harley in the driveway and hops off his bike. There's a dog on a rope with a bone between its paws, the bone furred with flies. And there's a mean-looking Holden car, and it has white power on the license plate. The dog stands up and barks, and Sammy's old man comes out of a screen door wearing a dressing gown and slippers. He has a little inch-long cigarette stub in his lips, and he's lighting a needle-thin rolling with it. "Everything all right?" the chain-smoking man goes, looking hard at his son. "Yeah, Dad, this here's my friend Richie." "You've not been playing at the school, have you? School's off limits." "No, sir." "Lighting fires? I'll kick your ass up through your mouth. I catch you lighting fires, boyo." Sammy nods like a dog being patted. The old man shifts to the other side of the door, puffing smoke through his yellowed moustache. "Well, it's just bad influences used to be down at the school back in my day. One little pufter, saints be praised, he was." The old man smokes the thought away. "Anyway, I hope you're looking after him. He's a good boy." Richie's not sure who the old man is saying this to. It almost sounds like the old man loves his son. The hours drip as Richie waits to get away from the smoke stench. Sammy's dad has a dark, scary den behind him, like a private pub, with mounted heads of deer and pigs and neon beer signs. I was worried he'd bring someone else home. Come to think of it, it's the first time one of yous has been around. "One of what?" Richie asks. "Nip, rice picker, Asian invasion." Richie knows there has never been an Asian down this entire skinhead biker redneck Zhangbalao street. "Oh, he just means I haven't had that much mates around," Sammy explains, covering for his dad. Richie's echolocation detects men in the neighbouring houses coming out and leaning against their trucks, staring. He notices, through Sammy's dad's big lounge window, notices pool cues on a rack, along with a shotgun and a rifle and one of those red X crossed American flags that you see on monster trucks. "You can come in if you want," Sammy's eyes say. "But yeah, this." Richie turns around. "I'll catch you on the flip side, Sammy," Richie says at the end of the driveway. "Toodaloo," says the voice of Jacob. Two fierce blue eyes, like opals in the air. Richie's dick freezes. He pushes his bike 50 metres until it gets up speed, breaking into a run before he hops on and pedals frantically towards the safe side of the street, sensing the boy behind him. He had no idea that they were being followed, clung to like a stray sniffing a scent. He had no idea that Jacob could attach to people and leave the school. "Dude, quit following! You can't come to my house, man!" He feels the question lisped on the breeze. "Not next Sunday, never." "I'm sorry, Jake." He doesn't look over his shoulder until the door is shut behind his back at home and he is asking Mama to please look out the curtains and check the street and please say that there are no boys coming after. Final term. They count down the hours till the shit is over and they can go overseas on holiday. Well, Richie can go on holiday. Sammy's old man just takes him down to boring-ass South Canterbury for the road nights poker run most summers. Anyway, they can't wait for the year to end. It felt good for ages, the roller coaster heights of ecstasy with Jacob. Like a secret inner version of the boys had broken through their skin and ran free on Sundays. But now they can't wait to tell Jacob to take care so that they can concentrate on being the dynamic duo. Just Richie and Sammy, no Jacob. Last Sunday was the last time. They heard the squeaks as soon as they walked into the school. Sammy gave him the hard words soon as he materialised. "Look, we've already got plans today. Sorry, Jake. We've got two-man stuff planned, just me and Rich." Jacob ripped a bird's nest from the tree, slammed it into Sammy's chest, tugged the flaps of Sammy's stinky denim jacket around it. "Lads, today's entertainment." "Dude, that's way out of..." "Look, we can't play with you, man, if you're being mean to animals." Jacob receded into the wind for a moment. Cyan eyes painted on the air. The bird nest erupted into smoke in Sammy's hands. Sammy dropped it, stamped it out, and saw eggy bird goo on his sneakers. and bawled, "And you, Mr. Chan, the Chinaman, pulling your pud with Mum's conditioner. I saw you trying to shove your scum down the plug hole, I did, Richie. You ought to be in the nut house, you sick bastard." Twirling his ruler like a cane, whipping their calves, Jacob ordered the boys to pour barrels of liquid soap into a pit under the bottom of the slide and cover it with cardboard. But the boys sprinted, grabbed their bikes and disappeared with Jacob behind, screaming and calling out old-timey swear words, and Jacob creaked as he chased till he collided with the edge of the staff car park, hitting a wall of glass. But 2 musketeers were free. Sammy went on a big speech about how it's coming up summer and there's a big fire risk, plus Jacob is getting hella bossy. And have you noticed Jacob always appears as soon as we pedal into school, like he hasn't even been home or changed his uniform or nothing, and we don't want to get polio off him. And Rich, tell me, man, have you ever heard of a genius loci? It's like a spirit force embedded into a building. I seen it on Unsolved Mysteries one time, and Jacob can talk to the hand, Richie said, as they parted ways, Sammy trundling down into the crappy half of the hood, and Richie heading north. We are done playing with that dick. Summer scorches the year away. Sunnyside Takeaways is closed for 4 weeks while the Chans treat themselves to the big 4 theme parks on the Gold Coast. His brothers and parents, and even Gungun, and even Yan Yan, and Richie feeling invincible, carrying $283 of saved up pocket money and enjoying the best Australian holiday a 13-year-old could dream of. Wet and wild, screaming, gasping, wet black footprints across the sunburned concrete. Warner Brothers Movie World, heart and mouth roller coasters. Dream World, adrenaline drunk. And at SeaWorld, Richie is sprayed by an orca, while a freckled Aussie girl sneaks glances at him till the 2 lock eyes and Richie falls in love. Then Christmas on the beach, new rental car smell, hotel apartments at Surfers Paradise, Sudanese food, Lebanese food, Vietnamese food from place Richie's barely even heard of. Endless wide black superhighways, kangaroos and koalas, billboards ginormous as the sky, palm trees, bats, lizards, parrots, and Richie sees heaps of Asian families just like his. Everything in Australia is huge and expensive and different. The coins, the parking meters, even the ants. And even his brothers act happy. Oodles of photos, everyone's arms around each other's backs. No thumps for the whole month. In jokes, lending each other money, comparing weird Australian banknotes. Some of Richie's fat is starting to harden into muscle, and his brothers teach him headlocks and arm bars and how to throw a punch next time a bully sings Ching Chong Chinaman milked the cow. They get back to New Zealand on the last night before year 10 starts, and there's a fundraiser carnival thingy happening at Sunnyside School, and it's like everyone in the whole world is celebrating, except Mr. Pushbop, whose car is parked outside the library, meaning that he's probably in there working. Bouncy castle, hot dogs, caramel apples, clown mouths, water guns to celebrate the last weekend of summer before term 1 starts. Richie's family, they're all at the event, and they're wearing red and black Canterbury colours, blending in, being Crusaders people, and Richie is trying to think up a way to be sent home to play GoldenEye on his Nintendo 64 when he sees the blue denim jacket and smells his best friend. The boys put arms around each other's shoulders, and they walk an excited 3-legged race, sneaking away until the twilight crowd thins to nobody, the empty half of the school ahead of them with no kids and no security. Richie has a whole packet of sparklers in his pocket left over from Chinese New Year, but he's thinking that he'll probably just hiff them in the rubbish since no one else is doing any fire stuff. Far behind them, the choir sings the school song through a set of speakers, and 400 families stand on their picnic blankets and chant along, while Sammy and Richie find their usual spot under the fort, under the spider-webbed wood, where Sammy burned the letters S and R rules. Using a bar of twilight, the boys unzip their pouches and start trading Garbage Pail Kids cards. Every card, a picture of a forgotten child standing alone. Sammy throws down some Series 2, and they swap Adam Bomb for Fake Jake for the Bad Breath Seth before a squeak pinches their ears and a black leather school shoe crushes the cards. It's been a while, boys. The air takes the form of Jacob. Yous fellas didn't want to play with old Jakey, did you now? He seizes Richie's nipple and squeezes, his voice rasping an evil secret. You think you're better than me? I know what's in your pocket, shampoo fucker. Fudge, man. Can you please just let me go? We just want to play Garbage Pail Kids. Richie shakes his breast loose and rubs the wound. Jacob probes Richie's pocket, finds the box of sparklers. I have to put them back, Jacob. I'm not supposed to. Jacob blots out the sky, waiting for action. He's like a stalled character on N64, repeating the same tiny body twitch while he thinks. That downpipe doohickey on the library, Jacob says. Be a gent. Light her up. Sammy's eyes connect for a second with Richie's. Burn the pipe and the whole library will catch a blaze, and they're pretty sure that Mr. Pushpop is in there. Nah, man, I'm not doing this. I'm outie. While Sammy is marching towards his bike, Jacob slaps him hard enough to knock him, so he stumbles, reaching out, scraping his palms as he hits the asphalt. Richie's been getting big over the summer, and he could bust out some Chuck Norris moves, and he could try and do that arm bar thing that his brothers taught him, but he knows it would be like wrestling water. Jacob drags and slaps and hustles and kicks them over to the veranda, the library, the return slot. They can see a tiny desk lamp glowing in the far corner of the library. They can see Mr. Pushpop's thermos, his head asleep on the desk. They can practically smell Mr. Pushpop's funny tea, scented like Mum's perfume. Jacob takes Richie's hand, clutches the sparklers, shoves them up the plastic downpipe. Richie sniffles. It'll be real dirty plasticky smoke if the pipe catches fire, and it'll drip and it'll puff black, sticky smoke all through the library roof and windows so Mr. Pushpop can catch a cool breeze, and they are guaranteed to get in Guinness World Record amounts of trouble, and this is such a retarded idea. Jacob bends Sammy's hand, forcing Sammy to flare the lighter. Click once. Phew. God reaches into the lighter and stops it sparking. The second click, a momentary flame, pushed over by the breeze. Jacob crushes Sammy's fingers on the barbecue lighter, forcing him to hold the flame a third time, forcing it to set the phosphorus-dipped sparklers alight. Good, Jacob says, squeezing the boys' collars, positioning their heads to watch the building burn. On the far side of the school, families on the field are chanting that loyal Dave Dobbins song, the school song, and the amplifiers are sending music through the sunset, and there are screams of joy as kids with face paint chase each other through hips and elbows, and Richie and Sammy squeeze the few Garbage Pail Kids trading cards they've been allowed to drag with them, holding on to some last scraps of fun. They can't not look at the fire. Teeth of green flame unite into an orange claw that first scrapes the plastic downpipe, then explores the window frames before flowing like an upside-down river as fire takes over the top of the library, and black smog oozes out of the book return slot, and a pile of papers spews onto the alphabet rug on the library floor. They watched for 5 minutes, Jacob mashing their faces against the library windows as the insides of the library fill with oily smoke. Richie thinks at first it's a good thing that Mr. Pushpop is sleeping through this whole shit, that there might not be any witnesses. And then the man rolls off his desk, soaked in smog, and he doesn't wake. Sammy rips his collar out of Jacob's grasp, leaving a trail of trading cards as he sprints for the edge of the school. Richie runs after, leaving Jacob to shuffle, squeaking and smack against the school boundary. And Richie is home within minutes, and his parents arrive shrieking that they were looking for him. Then, did you know there's a fire? And asking where the hell his bicycle is. And his brothers, their eyes wide with horrified glee, watch Mama Muchin shake the smoke stench out of him as Richie weeps and struggles, and Baba pulls Richie's pants down to spank him, screaming, "Who your friend? Who you doing this with? Who's your influencer?" and whips his thighs with bamboo. And Mama phones her sister in Zhejiang, crying that Guelo are a terrible influence in this unsophisticated pushy hoo-ha country, and they are up past midnight, but you can't even tell because the sky is orange, and there are 4 blasts of sirens, and then window rumbling honks, and police enter and don't even take off their shoes. And in the folder of class photographs, Richie's snotty wet finger can't find some disabled student named Jacob. Can't find Jake in the folder of Christchurch Boys High photos that the police have brought either, and not among the photos of boarders at Christ College or Shirley or St Andrews. And as they open the door, motioning for Richie to hop in the police car for a friendly chat, Gungung arrives, and Gungung hands his business card to all the police, the business card that says he's a Crown prosecutor, and some of them even know his name, and he sits warm and thoughtful as Richie tells the police and his lawyer and parents through a spiderweb of spit that okay, he can't tell them where Jacob lives, can't tell them Jacob's parents' names or anything, but he can tell them anything that they want to know about what Sammy did. You know, that Sammy, that Jingbalao boy from that bad family in Rowley. His father has the white power car, and you'll probably find heaps of garbage pail kids with Sammy's fingerprints on them, and he made me, okay? I didn't want to. And as half of the police leave to put the blame on Sammy, the neighbours dissipate, and Mama and Gungung put their hands on Richie's snotty knuckles. And they know that a man died in the library tonight and that a murder has happened, but they tell their boy he did the right thing. 3. Now. The library begins to glow. Orange wind nips the air, popping and crackling. A baby bonfire for now, although every time Richard blinks, the flames are more fierce. From his grave, in the moist bark chips, in front of the play fort, Richard shakes his daughter's goose-pimpled shoulder. Lily hasn't blinked in ages, but she's alive, her face peppered with soot, clutching that bloody phone. He imagines Lily's mother. She will blame him. She will tell Richard it's somehow his fault for being on his ass in grass that's getting moist as the temperature drops. Pant knees ruined. Chuck him and buy new ones. If you get home, Richie. Squeak. Murray is sniffing the buildings like a dog, coaxing his oxygen behind him. Curious about the new library. The library rebuilt in 1997, a year after the old one burned. It's pointless rebuilding, really, because somebody wants the building to suffer. While Murray's being distracted by the brewing blaze, Richard and Lily could run. The school feels like an abandoned film facade built in a desert. No humanity around for 1,000 miles. 3 buildings on 3 sides and a playground and a rugby field so expansive that Richard could haul his daughter out of this grave and he could sprint for freedom. He'd probably get gunned down, though. Creak. The wheels whine as Murray drags his little oxygen trolley around. The wheels also whine when he doesn't drag it, though, because something else is creaking. Some flag rippling on a pole, or an unlatched window with rusty hinges, or someone's metal-wrapped leg. Murray sniffs the air. He senses something. Don't think I won't blow the gook's head off. Come out, you crippled cunt. When nothing happens for a frozen minute, the old man pats his pockets, clears some throat room by spitting out a black clump, and lights a fresh smoke. He eases his weary frame to sit on the deck of the library, unworried by the blistering paint and fumes and yellow sputter behind him, lifting his dressing gown so he can manoeuvre his tired legs. Murray takes a long suck of oxygen. He speaks across the grass a little louder than usual, competing against the growl. You never checked up on your so-called friend after you threw him under the bus, did you, Richie? Suppose I'd better clue you in on what happened. See, there was never going to be any school again for Sammy after the incident, Murray explains, nudging his shotgun to wake up some imaginary screensaver. Dahal, that was the name of the curry muncher that died, isn't it? Dahal TK Pushpa, name of the man Sammy was convicted of the manslaughter of, killed in the fire that you started. My Sammy, he never got a chance to agree on a story with you, and you can't talk to manslaughterers when they are walled away doing calendars. All his courses, homework and exams and the youth justice out at Rolleston for 5 grey years till Sammy turned 18. He was actually out on the streets briefly, do you know that? Story in the press about him. Reporters hassling him, rubbing the shame in. Sammy had gone hard and rotten and hopeless inside, and when he got out, he started prospecting for the roadies. Except that clashed with his parole conditions, so they sent him back in, and that was the rest of his life. Of course, you wouldn't have mixed with him. You'd gone off to uni, hadn't you? Till he turned 38 last week and gave up. Pulled down his posters and boxed up his undergrads and sat on his prison bunk and steeled himself with some hard breaths. Then forced his teeth into his wrists and bit the veins out, ink pumping onto his knees. He painted on the wall of his cell before he collapsed, though, "My boy named names." And you know what he wrote, don't you? Murray points his gun at the evening sky and blasts. Richie's ears pulse. Birds shake out of the trees. "Don't you? Hey, you son of a bitch, come out!" Richie and Jacob is what Sammy wrote. Rough smears that turned brown and then black as the blood cooled on the painted concrete. Flies buzzing around the cell. Murray pinches his cigarette butt and then flicks the flaming roach at Richard's grave. It leaves a curl of smoke. "Are you aware my old popper knew the cunt? That little fucking fire starter, that's right. The polio prick. Knew that piss-weak little toe rag from when he was the real deal. When he was a flesh and blood boy. See, Popper and his mates, this fucking school, we're talking back in the 50s here, they used to... Fuck me." He inhales oxygen and then puffs life into a cigarette. Something squeaks to Richard's left. No, his right? Little Mr. Golden Shiny boy, old Jacob was. Hair like a duckling. Rule was at school you weren't allowed to touch the cunt on account of he was all weaselly and delicate and whatnot. Had a munted leg, the right one. Bound up with aluminium and leather straps because his foot was curled up like a bloody cow hoof. Everybody used to run away from the wee fucker. Slowest bastard in the cross-country. Foot all curled up like a bent carrot. He's desperate for boys to stay and play. Nobody wanted the little prick. Parents rejected him, farmed him out to the school. Mercy for that little boy that he died when he did, actually. But you don't care about boys dying at 13, do you, Slanty? Covered in bark chips, cold and waiting to die, Richard runs the math in his tired head. If Murray's dad was 13ish in 1950, and then Murray's father was with Jacob when he died? The old man, he'd spin us some yarns when he had a little grog in him. Murray sucks on a cigarette long and hard. Said you'd see the little prick in the library window. If it was just you on your lonesome, you'd see him. Which is good reason you should never play here by yourself on weekends, mind. Silence. You'd hear Jake the cripple before you saw him, squeaking like a mouse on a wheel, waiting for a playmate to wander in. "But you don't come here on weekends, do ya?" Murray's yelling at the sky, shaking his gun. "Popper fucking taught me, and that's what I taught my Sammy. This place is supposed to be deserted, and I have to find out the hard way you two are the only pricks dumb enough to be sneaking in here after hours." Sammy would have stayed home and played with his dad, Richie thinks, if you'd given a damn about him, Murray. Richard gulps. So you guys burned him, right? You burned Jacob? You and your father's friends? I suppose it got out of hand. The little crippled prick should have learned how to run away proper. It's his fault he locked himself in the library while my dad and his mates were having fun. Like my old man taught me and like I taught my Sammy, you don't play with matches. Richard imagines a fuzzy yellow duckling squawking frantically. Imagines a little boy kicking out against burning books falling from the shelves as they bury him. Imagines clawing towards friends who are backing away from the fire that they've lit. The musketeers disuniting, disappearing. Standing on the edge of the pit, Murray presses the release on the shotgun and offers it to Richard's head. "Ah, well, time to blow your dad's head off." Murray sneers at Lily, who has her phone out in her right hand, rubbing her cold flesh with the other. "Unless anyone objects." An invisible hand aims the oxygen and aims the shotgun at each other. The shotgun pointing down at the oxygen tank, and then the gun booms, and the oxygen tank screams and fizzes and explodes. Plastic pipe lands in the bark chips, scraps of burning hair, a metre of fabric, the cord of the dressing gown. Murray, what's left of his naked, scorched body, is thrown across the world, landing on the veranda of the building. He is a dull, chucked across a room by a brat. The brat hurls the roaring blue flamethrower of the oxygen tank into the library, shattering window panes. Paper and posters and a box of brochures fall into the racing blue flame and smoke. Murray is dragged in after. Richard leaves his grave, watches the flames nip and nibble. Windows shatter every 10 seconds, keeping time as the library burns. Banners and bunting fall from the ceiling. Black molten drips, raining on the scalp of the thing shedding its bubbling skin in the reading pit. The air stinks of charred human hair. Murray sits up in the furnace, confused, his brain briefly working before his eyes steam and his skin bubbles off his body and he disappears in orange. Sirens begin in the distance. Time to move, resist, fight. Time to extend a hand to Lily, pull her out of the hole and get home. Richard leads Lily through the soccer field. They stagger home through shadows, blacked with mud and tears and a sulphur stench. This is the one time that her video editing could come in handy, could cut out all tonight's dirt and ugliness and failures. Daddy and daughter walk up the margin of the motorway, soaked in piss and dirt. After thinking about it for ages, he pauses her on a roundabout in the middle of the highway, rummaging for words while sirens pierce the sky. "I don't want you telling people," Richie says to his daughter. "Telling people what, Dad?" "That I fucked my friend over. That if I'd shared the blame, he'd be alive and I wouldn't be wealthy. That our mansion shouldn't belong to us. That I'm unharmed by the fire and that isn't fucking fair." He doesn't say this. And Lily doesn't care anyway. She can barely walk in a straight line. She's too famous to look down, her screen alive and fizzy with activity. Her screen dings and vibrates and squawks and shakes. They continue along the motorway, muddy footprints under the lamps. Richard interrupts their slapping, muddy footsteps once and asks her if she's going to do any more of those vids of cute little lemurs at the zoo. But nah, Lily's not a little kid anymore. Got to feed my followers, Dad. They stagger into Fendalton an hour later and unlock Corfi Grove. They enter their house ruined, exhausted and stinking. Richie finds his iPad and Apple Pencil stylus. God, the fewer people that know about tonight's disgrace, the better. Oh, it might be midnight, but he can get Jakarta on the phone, see what price they can give him for the components he needs. Then he'll hit up his suppliers in Kuala Lumpur and see if they can source anything better. The old fellas at Boys High will be a little bit pissed about him missing tonight's bourbons and business, but he'll make it up to them on Monday. He'll give them some free Crusaders tickets. They sit up the island at the kitchen, coughing out smoke. Richard unlocks his iPad, almost opens Salesforce, and then locks it again. He clears sooty muck from his throat. They haven't spoken in an hour. "So," he finally says, to pull his daughter's eyes off her screen. His own phone is somewhere in the glass-spattered hall. It keeps ringing and chiming and shaking, calls and texts and emails. It's bad news, it sounds like. Lily's phone is at the centre of activity, though, and Lily won't stop squeezing it. Her grin is about to spread off her face. Extra views and likes and shares on her screen? People excited about the fire, presumably. Richard coughs. They have to talk about something. Try and pretend there's some normality in their lives. "How many followers you got on that thing?" Richie asks his daughter. He switches on the kitchen light. The clock says nearly midnight. Lily looks up, blinking, like reality has knocked at the door, interrupting her. "What? Oh, I got like 500k followers." "What? 500,000 people follow Lily Chanel. 500,000 strangers watch your updates? You got to be kidding me." "Oh, yeah." Her voice is dazed and drugged and sleepy. "They heard the whole thing. It's blowing up, Dad." Richard begins closing the fridge door with a whining metallic squeak, uncapping a cold cider. Squeak. "Wait, what? Lily? What?" "Oh yeah, everyone heard what you did, shampoo fucker." He snatches at her phone and she grabs it, snarling claws, vicious. fierce blue eyes.